Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to present the research that we are conducting at the Faculty of Economics and Management at the Slovak University of Agriculture related to food and nutritional security. Actually, it's the case study of Slovakia. And let me start with some context. Obviously, geographical context. We are concentrating on food and nutritional security in Central and Eastern Europe. So I have depicted a picture here, and actually Bratislava is on the line here on this iron curtain. So if you move a few kilometers to the left, you cross to Western Europe. Now you are still in Central and Eastern Europe, behind the iron curtain. And that's why food and nutritional security in this part of the world is different than in the West, because it had different history. Yeah? And basically some other historical context. Per capita consumption of food in Central and Eastern European countries was quite high at the end of communism, despite lower incomes. And the reason is that for political reasons, agriculture and food consumption was heavily subsidized. However, in 1990s, when the communist system collapsed, we see a huge decline of incomes, initial decline of incomes, and also increase of real food prices, which led to decline of food consumption or access to food, and also to rebalancing of consumption of food away from animal products towards more stable foods. Okay. However, both economic reforms and later on, which was kind of interconnected, accession to the EU led to changes in the quality of diets, especially because of the imports, because of the trade, which forced domestic companies to increase the quality, and also because of the application of EU law, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, etc. So the quality of food has been increasing. Obviously, one of the most vulnerable group are farmers, and rural areas and CAP increase significantly also the incomes of this group of people. Obviously, the major thing that affected later on economic reforms and EU accession was that it stimulated economic growth since 2000. This was the biggest impact on food and nutritional security. You see what it was happening when and this is the Slovakia, but this is the same picture for other countries. Food expenditures to income ratio has been declining until the food crisis in 2008-09. Okay, so maybe from this context, it follows that availability of food is sufficient despite a lower per capita supply of food in Central and Eastern Europe and lower protein supply in Central and Eastern Europe than in the West. But however, we can assert that availability of food is sufficient, and therefore in our case study, in our papers that we have written for this project, within this project we concentrate on access to food, we concentrate on quality of diets, and especially dietary diversity and heterogeneity in access to food, and especially on vulnerable groups, and also vulnerable groups. When we did literature review, there are previous studies, but quite older and not so focused on those issues, and that's why our research in this area is very timely. What methodology we used is that kind of first we estimated food demand elasticities by Quiet's method, yeah, and this was the first stage. And then in the second stage, we estimated diet diversity by OLS and quantile regressions to capture heterogeneous effects. Okay, so the first stage, estimated food demand, is well-established theory. Basically, also in addition to prices, incomes, this estimation was extended by demographic variables, as in other previous studies, and we obtained a lot of elasticities in the first stage, basically, and the second stage, we also used those elasticities, and we basically concentrated on diet diversity analysis. We estimated demand for that diversity in the second stage. Okay, this was based on the Jackson's model for variety, because as incomes rise, consumers increase not only quantity of food consumed, but also the quantity of goods that are consumed. And this quantity of goods that are consumed has important impacts on the nutrition. Then to measure food or diet diversity, we use countermeasure and transform vary index. Okay, so additionally, in the second stage, we basically merged first stage outcomes, results, which were the elasticities, and used them in the second stage to use these elasticities were used as proxy for uncertainty. Okay, so basically demand for food diversity was explained by income, prices, uncertainty, and also other demographic variables and controls. And this uncertainty or risk premium was proxied by elasticities that were obtained in the first stage by application of White's method. Okay, because elasticities measure sensitivity to market shocks and access of households to food in uncertain market environment. The data that has been used is household budget survey for Slovakia. We have data only for years 2004-2010, and we aggregated food demand to manageable proportions. Food demand was estimated for 5 groups: cereals, meat and fish, dairy products, eggs, fruits and vegetables, and other food products. Okay, and
3 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so it's obvious. Generally, descriptive characteristics. From the descriptive characteristics, we have computed that access to food and quality of diets improved, mostly due to improvement in incomes. Also, basically, what is noticeable there is that the increase in fruit and vegetables expenditure share, which fruits and vegetables are important for healthy diets. Skip. What elasticities that were computed tell us basically that income effects are important in consumer demand decisions, and income is a major constraint in food consumption. Basically, especially for fruit and vegetables, meat and fish, expenditure elasticities are elastic, and also price elasticities are elastic. Okay, and basically, when we basically over time, from dynamic point of view, own price elasticities have been declining. Okay, so this is between 2004 and 2010, convergence of expenditure elasticities at lower level was observed. And we found substantial heterogeneity of demand responses between rural and urban and between low and high income groups. From the second stage, diet diversity, we were happy to find that the results are according to our expectations. Significant positive effect of income on diet diversity, uncertainty affects diet diversity demand negatively, and the effect of education, as we are researchers, teachers, we are very glad that education has generally significantly positive impact on diet diversity. Other variables are also obvious. Size is difficult. Size of the household is difficult to interpret in the literature. Okay, to come to conclusions, in Slovakia, our case study over the period, I'm talking about period 2004 up to now, food and nutritional security has improved. There is still significant heterogeneity, which we are going to deal with in our subsequent research. Income a major constraint, and there is some policy implication that income enhancing policy intervention are more important for food and nutritional security than dealing with prices. Improved quality of diet since 2004, education is important, and our subsequent research we will concentrate on demand for food away from home, which has some connections to obesity, which is other problems in Central and Eastern Europe. And we will concentrate to add more diversity to our data, because we have a case study of Romania, Slovakia. We add it because we have a PhD researcher from Kosovo at our university and who has good data. We are doing similar analysis on Kosovo. And finally, the heterogeneity, the Romanian data that we are going to use is to basically, what is the difference between ethnic groups, between vulnerable Roma population and other ethnic groups living in Romania, because our descriptive data show that there is a huge difference in food security, food and nutritional security status between those two groups. Thank you very much.